Hey guys, this is Adam from Miller's Custom Guitars in Sonora, California, and I was working on a guitar today, and I've been thinking lately about changing strings. It's something that we as musicians of stringed instruments do very often, or sometimes not as often as we should. And as a tech, it's something I do a lot of, and I've seen a lot of different things. There's a couple wrong ways to do it, but there's also a lot of right ways to do it. And so I thought I would make a video showing a number of different ways to change your strings and proper ways to wrap your strings around your string posts, and maybe a couple things that you'll encounter when you change your strings. Maybe if you have vintage style split shaft tuners, or maybe if you have locking tuners, and what you should do, and maybe what you shouldn't do. And I'm going to show you a couple things. I'm going to do a string change on this guitar here and show you a couple other things and walk you through some stuff. One of the things that some people say when you're changing strings that you should do is to not remove all the strings at the same time. Some people are afraid, I don't know, that your guitar will implode or explode from the lack of string tension. And you know, guitars are under tension, and they're designed to be under tension from the pull of the strings. But removing all your strings at the same time isn't going to cause any damage, especially just for the length of time that it takes to change the strings. So you can feel just perfectly safe removing all your strings for the length of time that it takes to change your strings. I like to take all the strings off because it gives me a good time to clean. Like you get all this dust under here. If you get all the strings off, you can wipe off your, the dust, or, your fretboard. But one thing you don't want to do is take all your strings off and leave it unstrung for a prolonged length of time. The other thing is, if you do have a floating tremolo, it might make it easier to change the strings one at a time. Like if you have a Floyd Rose or a Stratocaster floating trim, or in this case is a Bigsby tremolo on this guitar. However, on this guitar, I'm going to be working on setting up the tremolo, and so I need to take all the strings off. Okay, so I'm going to show you my favorite way to wrap strings on a non-locking headstock. Okay, you can see I got the tuner pointed this way. Now I've got the string coming through the bridge. This is a Bigsby, so it's kind of tricky on that. But however the string affixes to the bridge. Okay, I'm going to thread the string through. Now what I like to do is I like to stick my hand in here, put it vertically, and then spread my fingers about that far. Okay, and then bend over here. You saw I bent that way, and then what I'll do is I'll bend over and then up and over like that, and this creates a nice lock on the strings. This string's a little not really cooperating. Grab some pliers. There we go. Nice tight lock on the strings. Okay. Now, while pulling and doing a little downward pressure, I'm going to start to tune. Now the pressure of my pulling might pull this back. So I'm just going to continue to push that down. If it starts to pop up, I'll push that down. And then when this wrap comes around, I'm going to make sure that my string goes under the wrap. Okay. And once those wraps are under, then they should stay under. And then what I'll do is I'll put the string in the groove, and then make sure, like if this is a two-nomatic bridge, which this is, I'm going to make sure that the string is in the saddle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down here with my thumb and pull up with my fingers. That way it makes sure it keeps tension on the string, and then continue to wind. And because of the way that this is done, all these wraps are going to be nice and tight against each other. Now, what I've done is I've made sure that all these wraps are tight. The string is in the saddle, the nut, and the string is in the saddle back here. And then I haven't tuned this up to pitch. I've just created a little bit of tension there. And that's my favorite way to string non-locking tuners. And then what I'll do now is I'll switch over to a different guitar and show you a couple different ways that you can string non-locking tuners. And then I'll show you some other style tuners. All right, I'm going to show you two other methods of wrapping strings on a guitar using my friend's Ovation here. I got the strings in here, and this is probably the most basic method of wrapping strings. Feed the string through. Now, you probably can't see it on string here, but I'm still going to do my 4-finger method. I'm going to stick my finger through, my hand through. Give me 4 fingers. And in this case, I'm just going to give me a crimp, a hard crimp, and then just wind, making sure that the strings go under. This is just a very basic, and in this case, just make sure that the strings always wrap underneath. Okay, and that should get you taken care of in that case. Okay, the second method is the over-under technique. Just ignore that this is a electric string. That's what I had, and these strings are coming off anyway. But we're gonna feed the string through here, okay? And then we're going to wrap the string, and the first one is gonna go under. And then after that, all the other wraps are going to go down under that. And so the nice thing about that is that this string now, I don't know if you can see there, has a wrap over it and a wrap underneath it. And it's got very secure, and it's a great way to do it, and it locks the string in really good, and you can just trim it there. So that's another great way to wrap it with the standard non-locking tuning heads. All right, so you also might come across locking tuners. Now, locking tuners, I love locking tuners. They make changing strings really fast and easy, but there's some confusion with locking tuners. How many wraps should I do on a locking tuner? So let's start. So on a locking tuner, first of all, you're going to loosen the wheel. You're going to thread the string through. Now on a locking tuner, we're not going to do the 4-finger method, that we were doing before. Instead, we're going to pull the string all the way tight. In fact, we're actually going to try to get tension on it. In fact, we're going to try to get before we were putting the string at like that angle. Instead, we're going to put the string kind of straight. Kind of pull the string kind of tight, and we're going to tighten the wheel, the thumb wheel in the back. Okay, I'm going to tighten that up. There you go. That's all you need, and that should be enough movement to even drop tune if you need to. That's all you need, because the locking tuner grips the string. You don't need the wraps to grip the string. That's what you need. Trim that short and you're good to go. My other guitar, my Telecaster, has an auto trim. You lock it, and when you turn the string, it has a little piece of metal that automatically trims it. You don't even need pliers. So that's another option for you. All right, one last thing that you might encounter is guitars with vintage style split shaft tuners. And I have to admit, I am not a fan of these type of tuners, but I've got a guitar that came with them. This is my Squier Cabronita Telecaster baritone. And I do love this guitar. It's so much fun. And it came with these tuners. And I don't really feel like switching them out because this guitar is so much fun. So I'm just going to live with them. And so I did actually learn the right way to deal with these tuners. I had a Strat with these kind of tuners on them, and I was always having slipping. I was having strings just slide right off of the tuners. And I eventually learned the right way to do these tuners. And so here's how you do it. Okay, so what I did is I took one string off so we can do one. And what you do is you thread a string through, and here's where the string needs to end. And what you do is you measure out 2 tuners lengths worth extra string. So here's this one. So we're going to go here, here. So that's 2 tuners length extra. Now, if you're doing the high E string, so let's say I'm doing this one, what I'll do is I'll pinch it here, I'll pull it back to here, and then I'll measure up 2 more, and then I'll clip it there. Hey, just one quick note here. I'm finishing off the restringing of my baritone Telecaster here, and I was reminded that when you do these vintage style tuners and you're doing the plain strings, instead of pulling here and going and doing 2 tuners distance and then trimming it, you actually want to give them a little bit extra so that those strings get a little bit more wraps on them. And that was something that I had forgotten. It's been a while since I've done these types of tuners. And then as I was changing these strings, I was reminded of that. I'm doing the D string here, so we need to measure up to here. Then we'll clip it right there. Okay. And in this case, we do want the string facing straight down, the slot straight down, and we feed the string straight down into the hole. And you probably can't see that, but there is a hole down in the middle of those tuners. And so you're going to feed the string down into the hole as far as it'll go, and then crimp it a 90-degree angle, and you're going to push it and hold it down. And then we're going to wind. Just as we have before, we're going to hold it in place. And just like before, all the wraps are going to go underneath the previous wraps. And as long as you do it that way, you're not going to have string slippage. That's a good way to change the string for your vintage style tuners. Just for fun, I thought I should give you one example of what not to do when you're wrapping strings. So instead of like a 4-finger technique, let's just give it like a ton of string here. Go crazy here. Let's bend this string up out of the way. Yeah, don't do this. A bunch of wraps like that, wrapped up on top of each other, going up and down, that's a surefire way to make sure that you have poor tuning instability, that your tuning is going to slip, and that you're going to have problems. So when you do your wraps, make sure that they are nice and even and in a straight row, okay? All right, guys. So what did you think? Did you learn anything? Did I miss anything? Are there any types of tuners that I didn't catch? Are there any types of string wrap winding that you normally use that I skipped or missed or haven't heard of? Let me know in the comments, This is that Squier baritone Cabronita that I was talking about. Yeah, it's a really fun guitar. So, hey, let me know if you learned anything or, if there's anything I can do for you. Till next time, catch you later.